I think, very kind words. So, good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to be here and seeing you all. So, Joy did most of the work for me, really. He, I think, set the premise for what robotic process automation is and made my job really easy. But what I'm going to do is talk a little bit more in detail, really define what robotic process automation is all about, what it really is and what it isn't, and also talk about what are its characteristics, what are its benefits, how are different companies really using it. And also, one thing that you'll have to excuse me is I will bring in a lot of automation anywhere into the RPA space. I know I'll have to be a little neutral, which I will try, but there will be a lot of borrowing from what we do at Automation Anywhere in terms of explaining what we do with RPA and what RPA is all about and what the world is doing with RPA. So just excuse me, I've made some notes for myself just to make sure that I don't forget anything. Just one thing I want to mention is that robotic process automation as a concept, as a technology, is too wide in its overall impact and its transformational ability. It really requires a whole conference in itself to be able to cover all the aspects of robotics process automation. But at the same time, I think it's simple enough to be explained in a session like this. And that's what is going to be my attempt, and that's going to be the main objective of this session. I think in the schedule it was mentioned it is a workshop, and I just want to clarify and set the objectives that I think the main objective over here is to let you all understand RPA. So obviously I'll encourage all of you to ask questions. What we would like to take away from this session is that at the end of it you should be able to say, yes, I know what RPA is, and at least I have an idea what it is all about. And obviously we will try and cover some of the other aspects related to it. I will try and focus on not just defining RPA, but also the application and the use case. I think there were some questions about where is it used and all of that. So I'll also try and cover some of that. And finally, what we will also do is, I have some videos which actually showcase robotics process automation in action. Essentially, when our software works across different systems and applications, how does it work, what does it do? So that is something that we're going to cover. And we will end with a Q&A session. Obviously, I'll encourage all of you to ask questions while I'm presenting, but if there are any questions, you can probably save them from the end, and then we can have a session at the end. Sounds good?
Yes.
All right. Right, so I'm going to kick it off with what is RPA and obviously what it is not. I think there's a huge amount of misconception. Sorry. What's there? Sorry?
Do you have this presentation?
Sorry, I didn't see that. So I want to kick it off with an attempt to define what RPA is and obviously clear misconceptions about what it is not. I think it's very important to set that premise here. So obviously I guess by now everyone really knows what RPA is. It stands for Robotic Process Automation. And just to give you the exact definition, RPA is a technology that helps companies automate the repetitive processes that they do, which are monotonous, which are mundane, which are just repetitive in nature, which are performed by people on computers, and which are essentially performed on the front end of their systems, is essentially what robotic process automation is. Obviously, there are different ways you can define it, but this essentially will tell you what robotic process automation is. It can also be defined as a platform that allows you to create software robots, essentially automated software tasks, which mimic user actions. What we users do on computers, they will mimic that and perform all those actions. They'll replay them back again and again in an automated fashion. Continuing on that, one of the important things about RPA is that it allows you to add a level of intelligence to it. And what I mean by that is to teach the robots the ability to make decisions like we humans do. So let's say we are performing a process, and Joy talked about an example of opening a bank account. And if you automate that process, let's say if in the KYC, if somebody has an information which is missing, the robots will obviously have the intelligence to know that, and then based on that take the decision whether it has to go left or right. So essentially all those decisions, you can actually program the logic inside your automation task. The other thing is RPA is very non-intrusive. It is a system that sits on top of your existing IT system. You don't really have to create a lot of space for it. It just nicely sits on top of what you already have, whether you have ERP systems or CRM systems or Citrix or green screen applications, legacy apps, whatever you have. You can essentially cover all of that with RPA. And as Joy mentioned, I think one of the other important characteristics of RPA is that it is becoming really hyper when they know that somebody's getting into the database and fetching the information, and there's a lot of compliances issue and all of that. So with things happening from the front end, you're able to maintain the hygiene that is associated with a front end user-based access to information, which can be very easily be controlled through Active Directory integration and a lot of different things. So I think that really makes it very powerful. Everyone's happy. The IT is happy that there's no breach of whatever, and compliance is one area that is addressed. And the other is that the developer of the automation has the freedom to really, integrate any application without really worrying about what's technology the underlying application is built on. Right, so this is just in continuation with that. One of the greatest benefits of RPA is that it's very horizontal. It doesn't really care what technology lies under the hood. It is very technology agnostic and hence very industry or vertical agnostic as well. It basically works everywhere. All right. So where is RPA headed? Very important question. I know Joy covered a lot of that, but I'm just going to cover that in a little more detail. So obviously, I think RPA wave that Joy talked about is really exciting, not just from the implementation part, but also from the development part and what RPA players like us are doing in the market and how they're really changing what RPA should be. So some of the things that we see is going to be the defining future for RPA. And one of the most important thing will be commoditization. I hope I'm saying it right. Commoditization of automation, which is essentially democratization. The idea is to take automation to everywhere, to every person, to a lot of different teams which earlier didn't have access to it. Still, I think we're in a world where automation is still controlled by a lot of technical folks. There's nothing wrong with it. They do a pretty good job with it. But I think the time has come that a lot of business users also start using it so that they automate their job on their own. And that's where the concept of modularization and reusability comes in. And that's where something where we have softwares, we have a platform that allows you to reuse those codes that you create, those automation scripts, those robots that you create can be reused in different scenarios. They could be tied to one application, to one department, to one system, but they essentially can be reused in multiple different scenarios. One of the very cool application for this is that one of our partners, not just one, but actually quite a few of our partners, are actually looking at creating their own IP on top of this. So what they do is they use RP as a platform, they create their own way of doing a process, and then just reuse it against a lot of different of their customers. And that's what they say is going to be their own take on RPA and automation. which is really very exciting, because what we are doing is now something that will not just be controlled by us and our development team, but will be actually taken further by our partners. And we're talking about large partners with really huge armies of coders and programmers. So that's really exciting. The other is cognitive automation. I think that was already covered, but it is going to be where robots are going to become a lot more intelligent. They will have, they will basically start mimicking a lot of human senses. Like how a human will look at an invoice, and if it is scanned, we humans know that if the amount is a little skewed, we still pick it up, because it's that human cognizance, the ability of human intelligence to do it. Now OCR and all of that doesn't really do that. But that's where the cognitive RPA comes in. It basically will have the intelligence to teach itself in some ways, and also combine that with its experience of doing this over and over again to be able to perfect that and do a process like invoice processing. So that's something that is really very exciting. And it's not just that, we're looking at, and it's not just us, I think there are also a few other players that are in the RPA space that are looking at cognitive. We're looking at emotion analysis, where people are going to automate the flow of emails into their customer care, and they're going to check whether your customer is not happy. And if they're not happy, then those emails get flagged right away, and that job is being done by robots and will be done by robots. So customer care becomes a lot more proactive. They know they flag those emails very quickly based on analyzing those emotions. So it's a pretty exciting and cool space to be in. It's going to be a lot of new cognitive stuff that will come in as this progresses and as it develops. The third is the concept of analytics on top of RPA. Now what will happen is, since you will have so many different robots working with humans, they will also have a much better ability to document data than we humans do. Which means that you will have access to a lot of data, which can be then put into an analytics platform to actually give you a lot of sense of what you're doing as a business, operationally, as well as from a business point of view. So let's say if you automated a process that involves maybe 100 people, it will tell you whether they're doing, where is the bottleneck. If the process gets bottlenecked at probably receiving the invoices, or just processing them, or if they're probably filling out forms, is that the area which, because the robots are doing it, they'll tell you exactly where that problem is, and then you can fix it, or maybe you can just completely get rid of that. The other is business analytics, where one of the applications could be where a lot of banks will be able to find out what are those forms that are being filled. Based on their zip codes or PIN codes, they'll be able to find out which areas are actually applying for a lot of bank loans, or probably applying for new accounts and all of that. Which means that there is an upward mobility in that area, perhaps. So that some human can actually use that information, their intelligence, and actually see if the banks can actually go and sell more investment instruments to those areas. So it's again a pretty exciting area. So all in all this put together will create a comprehensive digital workforce, where the idea is that humans and robots will work together. That's the whole idea. It's pretty exciting. All right, before I go ahead, I'd like to take questions. Any questions? I'm doing a good job. All right.
I'm not here to fight.
All right, so I just want to give you guys a minute to just go through this.
Can you speak aloud, because it's not visible?
Okay, oh, it's really bad. Okay. So this is what Bill Gates had to say about automation and what needs to be automated. What he said was that the first rule of any technology used in a business is that automation applied to an efficient operation will magnify the efficiency. The second rule is that automation applied to an inefficient operation will magnify the inefficiency. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory. But the key over here is to understand that it's very important to identify the right process for automation. Because you might go on a wild goose chase, and then eventually a lot of companies that implement RPA end up realizing maybe this was not a great idea. But generally the problem with RPA is that you haven't really identified the right process for automation. And that's essentially the key. The key is to find the right process, as we call it, the low-hanging fruits. These are essentially the process with all the characteristics that you need for robotics, which could be things like you have processes which, so this is again some of the processes that our customers and partners do across different verticals in space, industries. So it's just an indicative table. Obviously there are so many more I can't really fit in. But just one thing to highlight over here is that there's such a wide range of processes and systems that really are covered in this. Again, just basically validates the fact that it is a very technology agnostic space, and the platform can work across any industry or any system that you're working on. Right, so again, coming back to what should be automated. So the trick is to find the right process. Some of the low-hanging fruits, essentially processes that have the right characteristics, they have the right mix of different things. Now this could be where there is not too much of human intelligence really required, advanced level of human intelligence. Now obviously it's things like making a decision, if it's a yes or no, then obviously you can put those if and else statements and a lot of different things that you can do. But then let's say if it's like you're trying to automate what a fund manager at a hedge fund does, you obviously cannot really do that, because a hedge fund manager has to make a decision of investing $1 million into something. It'd be really stupid of you to even think that you could automate something like that. We are not there yet. So obviously you have to make sure that you don't pick a process which is that advanced in terms of the human decision making. You also have to ensure that you have a process which follows rules. It is bound by business rules. It is structured in a certain way. And obviously it is repetitive in nature. I think it's very important. It needs to have those repetible steps so that you can really use RPA and just industrialize it across maybe a team or a department. And obviously, you need to ensure that you have the right environment as well. Something which is at least reasonably regulated, where you have controls over certain amount of quality of probably invoices or whatever scanned documents you get. So you need to have those checks on what is the resolution that you get. Now it's very important to make sure that you get it above a certain DPI and stuff like that. I think it's very important, because if you want to really make it work, you will have to give that conducive environment to the system. So I think that's very important. Technology called bot farm. And what that is a new age back office. So it's like a back office / shared services as a service. So you just simply ask for one, and then you just plug and play, and you get a whole shared services kind of a thing, where we would have these bots working and doing a lot of things that you would have in a shared service. So that's a concept. It's a concept that's evolving as of now, but it's again pretty exciting in terms of really replacing a lot of things that a lot of shared services and similar businesses are doing. And then we have the analytics platform. So I'm just going to play that. So this is again the analytics platform. Now I know you might not be able to make too much sense out of this because I think you need to have some context into what's really happening over here. But this is essentially the analytics platform you work on. You program it to some extent to able to generate those generate that intelligence at an operational level or at a business level, and use that information that would earlier would not have really come if you haven't really getting your work done through robots. So that is something that gets covered over here. Right, so while that plays, since I think we're at the end of the presentation, I think we can have questions. If you guys have any questions, any suggestions, any comments?
Any questions, guys?
I just have one question. You did mention about cognitive computing where the data is queued and the robot would learn from the previous transactions. Does it not conflict with IT security, which usually says do not store any data? If I'm a bank with credit card details, I would not want my customers' data to be stored.
Correct, so that's a good question. Now, when we say the ability to learn and comprehend that and act on it, doesn't really involve the robots capturing information like credit card numbers or any other financial information that's related to the customer. What they capture is essentially the process details. How did it do it and what was that information and how did it pick it up? What location did it? So I'm going at a very basic level right now. So at a primary level, let's say we're looking to teach a robot to pick up information from an invoice, and you have different formats. And when you have that one robot that's trying to pick up information, now that could be a very small variation, but in its present situation, we don't really have non-cognitive robots the ability to just pick up anything because we humans just do it very intuitively. But those robots will learn that, okay, if it's not here, maybe it's a little over here and all of that. And then it'll know over a period of time that this is the field that needs to pick up. That's a kind of intelligence that it learns over a period of time. Now, obviously, the other way to look at it is that all of this information, even if the bot really looks at it, doesn't really get out of that confined space in which the bank or any financial customer is running the bot on. So you're anyway giving access to the bot in the first place. Now if it's learning, it's obviously not really Watson or DeepMind that it's really going to do something about it. I think we're talking about very simple bots that you create and program that will learn just their own functional work at their own level. And even if they do get access to information, I think it's going to be highly regulated and controlled, and it's going to run in that one small confined environment in which the customer wants to run it on.
Any other questions, guys? Anybody at the back? Yes, Shubham.
Okay, so we have softwares in the market which automates your web applications like Selenium or desktop applications like QTP. Does this also stand in competition with those software?
Actually, we had a product called Testing Anywhere, and it was actually a software test automation tool, and we did compete with QTP and Selenium. We always lost to Selenium because it was free, but we won a lot of deals against QTP. But again, I think fundamentally the concept remains the same. It's just that repetitive task that you automate. I think there is a lot of similarity between what QTP does or what Selenium does. But I think in the end, what differs is the application of that automation. How are you doing? This is more in the business context, and that is more in the or automation of functional test or regression test or stuff like that. I think this is in a very different context. And I think since we took a conscious effort to move away from that, I think our entire focus is now on growing the business part of automation, and that's how we've kind of completely moved away from the space that QTP and Selenium really exist in.
Thanks.
Guys, any more questions?
I think, I think, is any questions, any comments? All right, so in that case, I'd like to just conclude with one thing. So one of our biggest challenges with RPA is obviously the change in mindset. I think it's we face as salespeople, and a lot of our implementation guys face when it comes to implementation, and eventually it also percolates down to our development team. Is that change in mindset? I think that's very important, and I think I never lose out on an opportunity to tell people that RPA is a lot about change in mindset than technology. I think to adopt automation as something that can really change how you work, and viewing it that way is very important. So I think I'll really take this opportunity to really say that I think RPA does have the potential to really change a lot of things, but people really need to adopt it and see it in that way. I think that's one of the most important things going forward in the future for RPA. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you so much. That was really awesome.